Sorry, did not get your question. So you're saying that there are questions in the assignments which
Hmm.
have more than one answers.
It could be more than one answer, but the questions are situation based, but the situations are not defined clearly there, because there is no about clarity about which the situation is belongs to. There is a question that in the last week for graded assignment which have been passed.
What is the question?
Just let me open.
Right. Okay. So keep that with you. We'll finish the
Uh,
discussion and come to that.
the
Okay.
question is,
So,
uh, Dipti is not here. Could you please speak up, hang up, hang on, or ring her later? This is the four
these
options.
are not questions related to model verbs, right? This is something related to phrasal verbs,
Yes, phrasal
telephonic
verbs.
conversation. Yes, yes. But that will come to later. And these are not same things. They all have different meanings.
But the
Ma'am,
hang,
is this,
but the hang on and the ring her later almost belong almost be the answer of the question, because if I bring the person which you are calling, then I can told you that.
Okay, Divya, can we discuss this at the end of the session? Because I don't plan to do phrasal verb now. If I take it up now, then the whole of my session would get disturbed. We can take this question at the end of the session.
ma'am,
Okay.
is this week wise syllabus, ma'am?
What syllabus? Sorry.
Which week is this, ma'am? Like, verbs? Week 5 or?
I am not sure. You should know that better, right? Uh,
Yeah.
the question I don't know from which week. Might be 5 or 4 or one of those. I may not
No,
know.
ma'am. I'm asking this session.
That is what I'm saying. It should be either 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So you can check which one it is. I don't think this is my must. Oh, so you probably are saying that this is not for the qualifiers, right? I'm not sure.
Ma'am,
Phrasal verb should be from which one is it? Week 3,
phrasal verb is in week 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. All right.
And the article preposition, adverb, verb are week 2.
Model verbs also you should have in one of the sessions, if I'm not wrong.
Model verb.
Uh,
Oh, model verb. Can, could, should, might. That kind of.
yes, yes,
Oh,
exactly.
this in the week 3.
Hmm. Okay. Anyway, it's not discuss too much about that and waste time. So, yeah, so this point that was being raised, right, on tense, right? So, in tense, the idea we are trying to present is for particularly when it comes to verbs, right? We know most of the verbs are going to carry tense either along with it, or if it's in, when you want to differentiate the time differences, sometimes it can come out of the verb also. Like, for example, if you're looking at a present continuous form, it's going to be is plus the verb plus ing, right? So there are cases where you can find it exactly on your verb, and sometimes the tense is also separated out of the sentence. Now the question here is way more important than knowing where the tense moves and all. In modal verbs, right? Because you brought in this whole point about um, tense, right? So how does the tense thing work in this? It does. Do the modal verbs have tense with them? So if you have a sentence, for example, right? Say, I can swim, right? If I have a sentence like this, I can swim. Uh, where is the tense in this sentence?
In the verb swim, first form.
Yeah.
Which one?
It is simple
Can?
Swim,
present.
swim. So
Swim. Okay. So I can swim. Your tense has to be located on the verb swim. Okay. We know that in English, the present tense markers are not really visible, right? At least in the present tense, simple present tense form, it's not visible. Of course, in the other forms, you can see that, right? So the point here is that the tense is on the verb swim, and that is always the case. Whatever is your main verb or whatever is the actual verb of the sentence, only that is going to carry the tense. You call this one the modal verbs auxiliary verbs. Remember? So we know that there are auxiliary verbs which will carry tense. Which are? Which are what? Examples of auxiliary verbs which carry tense?
Can, could,
Am or
will,
was
shall.
were.
No, no, not can. The examples would include what all the be forms, right? Like is,
Yeah.
are, was, were, has, had, have, do, does, did, right? All of these are examples of the auxiliary verbs, right?
Be
Which can
verbs.
carry tense, right?
Hmm.
But that is not the case with modal verbs. Modal verbs, when they appear in the sentence, they cannot show you tense, right? Which is where you need to start unlearning, where people might have taught you sometime in the school or somewhere that, could is treated as the past tense of can, or would is treated as the past tense of will, right? So this really doesn't figure out in the case of modal verbs. Modal verbs are basically, if you dig a little deeper into the meaning of the word, it basically expresses modalities, right? Modalities are what? Expressions. Expressions like possibility, ability, likelihood, probability, right? Necessity. All of these is what, all of these are called modalities. So their function is to express a modality. Their function is not to show you time. So first and foremost thing structurally about the modal verbs would be that they are tenseless. They don't have tense. Okay. There is
Okay.
one modal verb or one of these auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliaries are the auxiliary verbs or modal auxiliaries. That's how we refer to them. So there is one particular verb, right? This one, will. In English, we use will for both referring to the future time in certain sentences or certain contexts, as you want to say. Will can be used as a future tense marker in English, right? So, for example, I will play football tomorrow. So, this can indicate what? What does this indicate? A future time reference. But the will modal can also represent modalities, right? Can you tell me? So, when it is used to express predictions, do you use it as a model verb or do you use it as a tense marker? Say
For
I'm making a
prediction,
prediction.
for prediction, we use it as a modal verb. Modality, it shows modality.
When you're making prediction, sorry, what is it? How do we use it as future tense marker or as model verb?
For prediction, we use it as a modal verb.
Can you explain? Give me a sentence and let me know how you're going to work on that. So making a prediction. So if I say it will rain tomorrow,
Okay.
it will rain tomorrow. So is it a model verb or is it a future tense marker? It will rain tomorrow.
Can we say it is both?
How can you say it is both? You have to explain that to me. We may be able to, but then I need an explanation for that.
It says that it will. The prediction is in the future, so it
So
shows.
see, you're answering yourself now, right? So when you're saying prediction, this is something that is automatically that would happen in the future. So isn't there a future time reference already coded in that? Right. So when you're making predictions about something, will is always used as a future tense marker. Okay, understood?
Okay.
But
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you're going to use it to show intention or you're showing promise, right? Or say something along a threat, right? So somebody says that I will hit you, okay, or I will fail you, right? When I say something like I will fail you in the exam, am I giving you a future time reference there? No,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
So
No, how? Is it
it is.
necessarily future tense? This is the question. Okay, you can interpret it like that. When I say I will fail you in the exam, am I talking about particularly a future time? No, right. This is more like a threat, right? Or more like a warning. I'm telling you, I will fail you in the exam. So this is where you're using will as a modal verb, not as a future tense thing, right? Or if I'm making a promise, I will bring you a shawl. I will
Okay.
bring you a shawl. Okay, or I will bring you a book, whatever. Right. So this is a promise.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
Yeah. So this is how you use will as a model verb. So here it is used as a model verb. So I will let me type this sentence for you so that it's easier to understand. Please make a note of these things so that you don't get confused during the exam, right?
Ma'am, can you please give an example where will is used as a for showing future tense?
Future tense I just mentioned, no? What was that? Sorry, it will rain tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
It is a
I will.
prediction.
It is prediction. So that's what, whenever you're making predictions, it is always, prediction is automatically has the future time reference encoded in it, right? So you don't have to really think too much. The moment someone says prediction, you know that this is about a future reference, right?
Okay.
So I will, what was that? I will I'll bring you a book, right? I'll bring you a book. Just bring you a book. Sorry. Now, what is this? This is treated as a promise. Someone's making a promise. This is the first sentence. And then you have like threat. I will call the police. Okay. So this is more like a, let's call it a warning or threat, right? For the time being, we'll keep it simple than, using too many things in that. So two of this thing, promise, threat. Okay. I will bring you a book. This promise, I will call the police, warning or threat. And then there's another one. Third one, which is I will work sincerely on the project, for example, right? What does this one show? This shows intention, or you can also call it a promise.
Ma'am, we can't see the screen.
Sorry? I didn't hear you.
See
We
the chat
can't
box.
see the screen.
Ma'am is writing in the chat box.
Okay. Yeah, everyone, please look at your chat, right? So you have, I will bring you a book, which is a promise. I will call the police, which is treated either as a warning or a threat. I will work sincerely on the project can be read both as an intention and a promise, right? So given whoever you are, given the context of the talk that you have, the conversation, whoever you're talking to, this one can be interpreted either as a promise or as an intention. Okay, if this is something that you're telling yourself, then yes, I will work sincerely on the project as your intention to work sincerely on that. Or if it is, something that you're declaring to somebody, then this is more like a promise, right? But in either case, whether you read it as an intention or as a promise, this is what here will is not the marker of future tense. Here, this is what? This is a modal verb. Okay. So this particular modal verb alone, this can create a little bit of trouble to people. There are prepositions where people say that actually the tenses would be only present and past, but that's not the case. We very clearly know that when we talk about tense, we can clearly distinguish between the past time, the present time, and the future time, right? So that preposition doesn't have to be counted. We have three tenses. But because in English, a lot of these functional words, all these words, modal verbs and all are called functional words. Functional words can have overlap here and there. They might be used for more than one function, and will is one such case. It can be used to show future tense markers, right? It can be used as a future tense marker and can also show the modality of warning, threat, intention, promise. Okay, understood the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. So this is one difference that I wanted to talk to you about. And tense, like I said, your modal verbs do not carry tense in general, right? You have 9 core auxiliaries, core modal auxiliaries, which include can, could, will, would, shall, right? Shall, should, and may and might. And the last one is must, right? So these are your 9 core modal auxiliaries. When I say core modal auxiliaries, I mean that there are more auxiliaries possible, right? We call them semi-modal verbs, but we are not going to discuss that for you in English 1. You probably are going to have a session on that in the advanced, which is English 2, right? So right now, the focus has to be on how the 9 core auxiliaries, modal auxiliaries behave, right? So will, I think we have discussed now, like what it can show you. Can we look at some of the other modal verbs? So can you tell me what can helps you express? Which modality does can help you?
Ability. It shows ability, ma'am.
Ability,
Ability.
right? So, see, ability is the core function of the model verb can. Okay, now why do I say that? Ability is the core function of the model verb can. So when I say I can swim, right, the previous sentence that we had, what are we hinting at? I'm talking about my ability to swim. Okay.
Okay.
But when I say something like, no, it can rain or it can leak, for example. Let me type out the sentence so that it's easy
It's
for you.
prediction. It's again prediction.
It
Right.
can leak. What am I doing here?
Predicting.
Hmm. Predicting, or I'm also indicating the possibility. Correct. Possibility. Right. So there's a difference between it can leak or, I can swim. Right. The first one is ability. This one is possibility. Now, why did I bring in this difference? I can give you more examples. Let's discuss, because can is like one of the model verbs which can be used to show multiple modalities. Let's look at this. So, I can, for example, this is what I'm needing. I can drop you on the way. Now, what is this? I can drop you on the way.
Ability.
This is ability.
Yes, ma'am.
He is saying
This
that
ability.
he has the ability to drop her on the way.
Ability, not ability. So if I contrast it between ability and if I say that this is more about, I trying to, I'm making an offer for this person. Okay. I'm saying that, yeah, I can drop you on the way. So I'm making an offer, right? More than ability, it is I being polite and making an offer to the person, right? So this is one of the example. Now another one, particularly when used in the question format. Can I go home? Can I go
Request.
home? Request. Request or permission, right? You're seeking permission from someone. Can I go home? Right? I can drop you on the way. Can I go home? It can lead. So possibility, making offer, permission. Okay. Now one more thing here. I want to introduce that too. It can't be a dog, for example. Look at this sentence. It can't be a dog. What modality does this express? It can be a dog.
Impossible, logically impossible.
Impossible, logically, or anyways, whatever it is, right? Impossibility, or in other terms, you're saying that you're certain about something. When you say it can't be a dog, this is how you're expressing certainty about something. So it can be a dog, it can be a virus. Okay. It can be a it can be a festival, right? This is something else going on. It can be a festival. So this is your way of expressing something that you're certain about, that you're really sure, you're certain that this is not that. Okay. So one use of the can in its negative form, can't, right? Which is cannot, and its short form is can, right? Is to express certainty. So my point here is to let you know that when you talk about modal verbs, each of these modal verbs will perform more than one function of modality. Like for example, can, that we just looked at here. Can be used to express ability, possibility, make offer, to seek permission. And when used in the negative form, it can also express certainty, right? Now, while this is a true thing about all the modal verbs, what one need to keep in mind is that every modal verb, every core modal auxiliary has a core function. And for can, that core function is what? Ability. So the moment you say can, you associate it with ability, because can in most of the context is used to express ability. Although it has the capacity or the ability to, express four other functions that we just discussed, four other modalities we discussed. The core function always remains to show ability, to express ability. Okay, have you understood this part? Right? And same is the case for other modal verbs too. Okay. So for example, let's now talk about could. So have you understood can? Can I move on to the next one?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So could, what is the core function to express? Possibility. Right. So could, the core function is to express possibility. Right. But we also know that could can be used in several other contexts. So let's look at an example where could expresses possibility. So if I'm saying it could rain, what is the meaning of this sentence? What am I expressing? It could rain.
Past.
Possibility, right? This is an example of it could, sorry, could expressing possibility. It could rain, right? Now, remember here, when we say possibility, we are not defining what is the, exact, exact percentage of possibility, right? We're simply expressing a general possibility. You're saying it could rain. When I say it could rain, the interpretation is that, yeah, there is a general possibility that it could rain, right? That's what I mean. I'm not grading it on any terms, right? I'm not giving a scale or a grade for it. A general expression of possibility. It could rain, right? Now, could, when you see in a sentence like this, could you please pass the pen, or simply say something like,
Permission.
permission. Yes. Could you please pass the pen? Request or permission? Yes, that's right. Could you please pass the pen? That is a request, or that is also not a permission. Yes, a request. Say, okay. So let's look at permission then. How would it be? Could I go home? So this is a counterpart of can I go home? So this is permission. Can I go home would be what? It would be an informal version. Okay. Can I go home? Right. And when you say, could I go home? This is more polite. Right. But both of them express what? The modality of seeking permission. Right. Now, could, another one. I could swim when I was sick. What does this sentence express? I could swim when I was 6.
Past tense, ability in the past.
It's ability alone. It's not ability in past tense. Okay, it's ability alone. In this case, also, I told you that modal verbs will not express any tense. They are not. It's impossible for them to do that, right? I could swim when I was 6 is when could is used as, an ability marker or to express ability. What is marking the tense in that sentence?
When
You already have a marker which marks the tense there.
was, when was,
Ah,
when I
correct.
was.
Exactly. Very good. So was is your past tense marker. They're not could. Could is simply sitting there and showing you ability. It is not telling you anything about the tense. Okay. This is what I told you, that you need to understand could is not the past tense, or you shouldn't say something like expressing ability in the past. Okay. It is simply showing you ability. The past tense part comes from the past tense marker, which is was. Okay. Right. So idea again here is that could can also show you ability. It can be used to seek permission. It can be used for other things as well, right? In certain contexts, could is also used to make predictions, right? All of this possibility is there. But then the core function of of could would be to show or express general possibility, right? Okay. So that is can and could. Will we discuss? What about would? Let's talk about would. What is wood's function? Core function would be to express hypothetical, imaginary, or unreal situations, right? When you have to express hypothetical, imaginary, or unreal situations, then you use would. Example, can one of you give me an example?
How would I know?
How would I know? No, there would is not used in that sense.
If I would have been in the team, we would have won.
Yeah, go ahead. That sounds like a good example, but be a little more clear so that I can include it.
I would like to go New York or something.
No, that's not in the. So I would like to go somewhere, whatever the sentence was.
I would have
Does
passed
it
if
express
I
a-
learned
Sorry,
well.
Ma'am,
sorry, sorry.
it
If
would
I
be a dog.
Okay, one of you. One of you.
I would have passed if I learned well.
I would have passed if I had learned well. Yes. Okay. So let's look at this. Uh, I would have passed if I had
Ma'am, have you
learned well.
shared your screen?
No, no. We're only discussing now. After we are done with it, we can look at the exercise. Okay. So I would have passed if I had learned well. Okay. If this is a sentence, for example, right?
Is it
So then
unreal situation, ma'am?
I would have passed, yeah. So this it's a hypothetical thing. No, it's more like a we are not giving them a real situation there. I would just say you basically just expressing your wishes, right? So if I would have passed if I had learned well, right? Sorry, got confused. Hmm? So this can be one example, but I think you need a little more, more clearer example for this. Say, for example, if you have something like, if I were heard, I would have I would have, or I could have. Let's keep it that I could have flown high up in the sky. Okay, for example, if this is your sentence, right? If I were a bird, I could have flown far high up in the sky. These kind of sentences, right? These kind of sentences actually qualify mostly for the use of the modal verb would, or when would is used as a modal verb. This is a clear example of what you call as a hypothetical or imaginary or unreal situations. Okay. So the previous sentence may not classify as an unreal situation, but it's still a hypothesis, right? I would have passed if I had learned well. You're giving a condition for clearing the exam or passing the exam, which is that you should have learned well. So you still are giving a hypothetical situation, right? So that can also classify as the would that you use in the first sentence is also an expression of modality, right? The second one, the one which I just wrote, if I were a bird, I could have flown high up in the sky. This is an example of an imaginary or an unreal situation. Okay. Who was asking that out? I think Roshni or someone. Is it clear for you now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is the core function. Okay, as I was discussing, the core function of would be to express either hypothetical, imaginary, or unreal situations. Now, would has other functions, like some of you mentioned, right? I would like to go somewhere, or I would like to finish this work by 5 o'clock. Now, what is this? What would that modality be? What would that modality be?
That is intention, right?
Like a wish we want to
Yes.
complete.
So it is more like an intention, or someone just mentioned that. So when I say I would like to finish my work by evening, okay, I would like to finish my work by evening, and you can replace it with any other phrase you want. Okay, I would like to, and then whatever your
I
remaining
would
phrase.
like to
I
call.
work. So whatever your phrases are, this is going to express a sort of intention. Okay. So this is also possible. Okay, something. Yeah. I would like to finish my work by evening, or I would like to do something. I would like to go for a movie. I would like to have a chat with you. All of this would be intention, right? So this is another function which the word would can perform sentence. In addition to this, just like we discussed about could, would can also be used to show politeness, right? Would you please forward, would you mind forwarding the message to me? So this is a case of using would in a formal context in more polite way, right? Would you mind sending or forwarding the mail to me, message to me? This is more like uh, a formal thing to do. Okay, a formal or a polite context. So would can also be then used in the formal context, just like could. Okay. Mostly it is could and would, which is used to show politeness along with may, right? That's the next one that we are going to discuss. So understood would, will, the difference and where it can have similar meanings and all that. You should know the core function of each of this. So is would understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll look at may now. What is may used for? What does may express?
For seeking permission.
Hmm. Possibility. And what kind
Possibility.
of possibility? Strong possibility. Okay. So if you're talking about I told you when we were discussing could that could can express general possibility, right? Am I right? So
Yes.
there was no gradation there. We were simply saying that, yeah, there's a general possibility that it would rain, right? But in the case of may and might, right? May expresses a strong possibility of something. And if I'm trying to quantify it, say, there's at least 50% chance of something to happen. Then you call it, okay, this is strong possibility. Okay, it could, at least 50%. So then you can say may. It may rain, which means that you're almost sure, almost, okay? Almost sure that it is going to rain. But when you say might, right? Might expresses weak possibility of an event, right? So again, if I take the rain example, it might rain versus it may rain would mean that when I'm saying it may rain, I'm almost sure that, it will rain because I see all indicators of rain. I'm saying it may rain. But when I say it might rain, I'm only, making a very weak inference based on the circumstance. So it could mean that, yeah, not sure at all. When you say it might, the meaning is that the speaker is not sure at all. It's only a very weak possibility. Understood? Okay.
Ma'am, one
Huh.
clarification is required.
Yeah.
So might means low possibility, could means moderate possibility, and may means high possibility, right?
Could is not moderate possibility. Could is a general possibility of something. Okay, you should understand that difference. When you're generally indicating at the possibility of a rain, or you're generally indicating at the possibility of a storm, right? So that indicates the possibility with could. It's a very general, we say no very generally. So when I say general, I'm not talking on the basis of any evidence or anything that I actually know. Now I must have seen like one or two indicators and I'm just saying that, that's a possibility. Okay, very general. But may, on the other hand, I am speaking with some kind of conviction. I'm almost sure I have my evidence gathered. There are good indicators with me, which is telling me that, yeah, this is the case. This is going to be like that. It may rain. Okay. So the other way of saying is it may rain for sure. Okay. So for sure is usually not used because it is encoded in the word may when you speak English, right? For native speakers, it is almost encoded. When they say may, they know that it is a strong possibility there. Okay? And might, on the other hand, it's the reverse. It's like, I'm not sure at all. Okay, very feeble chances. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that is may and might. Then I think the next one is shall and should. Shall is a very problematic modal verb because it is almost obsolete. Now people don't use it as much in the English language now, right? A lot of this has been, it is used, but most of its functions have become obsolete now. People have replaced shall with will in most of the places. So let's look at what shall can do in English, right? So in the in the traditional sense, shall was used to express obligations. Okay,
Is it
particularly legal
compulsory, ma'am?
obligations.
Shall means
Compulsory?
compulsory. Yeah.
So not compulsory. It's a kind of obligation. The difference between something that is compulsory and an obligation, right? Yeah, it is obligatory means, it would be really appreciated if you do it that way. That is what I would be obliged basically is translated as I would really appreciate. It doesn't mean that you should. Okay, you have to do it is not the meaning. When someone says, there's an obligation on my part to do something, it basically means that this is what is expected of me. Now, expectation, you may fulfill it, you may not fulfill it, is upon you. Okay. But there is an obligation, there's an expectation, or the act that you might want to do would be appreciated if done. That's what obligation means. So shall, yes, it falls within the domain of obligation, mostly. But it is only in the legal obligation that now we use shall, right? Only in the context of law will you see shall being used as a model verb to show obligation. But otherwise, shall doesn't have much of a function in English now. I'll give you examples for that. Shall, now mostly you use shall to express the following things, right? One would be permission, right? Example, shall I have,
Shall I have some tea?
shall I have a bite of
Shall we go?
biscuit? Shall we go? Okay, good example. Shall we go? That can be an example, or let's say shall we go is fine. I will just take that. Shall we go? Okay, shall we go, or shall we have the meeting in the evening? So this is basically expression of permission, right? Or if you have a sentence like we shall meet in the evening. What does this express? We shall meet in the evening.
It is like requesting, but not that formally.
We shall meet in the evening. No, it's not a request, but if you look at it along intention, promise, threat, prediction, then what will this be? We shall meet in the
Intention.
Someone says, okay, so we shall meet in the evening. Actually, no. A lot of people think that shall is used to express certainty, but that's not right. Okay, the shall doesn't give you much certainty. So we shall meet in the evening would be, you can decode it as both. You can
Advice?
say that
Intention.
you can say this is intention. We shall meet in the evening. We can also say some people would interpret this as the future tense marker would say that, okay, we shall meet in the evening, future time. Okay. So the point I'm trying to establish is that we can replace shall with will in this sentence. Okay. We will meet in the evening. Right? Whether you decode it as intention or, a future time reference based on the context that you are referring to, you can replace the word shall with will here. Yes? No?
Yes, ma'am.
You can,
We can.
right? So in modern English, right, these days when people speak, a lot of them will use we will meet in the evening. Okay, most of the, if you look at the corpus in English now, most of the people, corpus means, something that we have, sentences of, when you record the occurrence of a particular word or a sentence, something in the given context. So instead of shall, you see will everywhere. Now we will meet in the evening because will is good enough to perform the function, right? We really don't have to bring in shall here. So shall in that sense have become a little old fashioned to say. Now people don't use it much. But shall is certainly used to express the first sentence that we wrote. Shall we go? This is permission. Okay. So it is now mostly located within the domains of permission. It doesn't usually come to the other part. Okay. So obligation, yes, but only legal obligation. So the petitioner, the convicted shall be fined an amount of so and so with a sentence to 2 years in jail, right? So this language again is only now seen in the legal documents. Even there, it's slowly getting replaced with will. But for the time being, when you look at the literature, when you look at the legal literature, you see that they still continue using shall as an obligation. Okay. Okay. Understood? Any
Yes,
questions that you have? So for our purpose, shall is mostly used only to express permission. Okay. Right. Now, next we go to should. Should is more important for us to know. It's a very important model verb. What can should do?
obligation.
Give me examples. Give me examples. If it's obligation, then what? Responsibility. Okay.
Poor should be helped.
Compulsion.
No, compulsion, compulsory, right?
Compulsion.
You should come tomorrow.
You should come tomorrow. Okay. Right. So you should come tomorrow. Is what?
Kind of order.
Kind of order. Okay. Command, you mean, right? Okay. You should come tomorrow. Yeah. So, yes, that is one possibility with should. You can use should usually to express obligation. Not obligation. Yeah, obligation also in that sense.
Also, ma'am, you should not eat junk food.
Obligation in terms of rules and regulations, right? But actually, that is not right. Should does not express obligation as such. If you, the sentence that she mentioned, you should come tomorrow. What is it more like? Is it an obligation?
It is a command.
Compulsion.
Command. So let me ask you one thing. So you should come tomorrow versus you must come tomorrow. Anyway, because we're discussing.
Advice.
Put that up. You must come tomorrow. This is one. You should
Must is
come
order, ma'am.
tomorrow. That is what these people are saying for should also, no? Did I not? You must come tomorrow. You should come tomorrow. What is the difference?
Should is like a request. Oh, sorry.
Advice.
Should is like
Come
advice.
tomorrow.
Advice. Should.
Advice, right? So you should come tomorrow is more like an advice. You should come tomorrow. Okay. You should come tomorrow is more like an advice or
Okay, sir.
yeah. So advice, what do you mean by advice? I'm trying to look at, try and understand what do you understand from advice? What is the difference between, should used as an advice and should used as an obligation? It is not used as an obligation. I will talk about obligation in a while. But when you say that this is advice, what do we mean? So, you have an example like if you are unhappy with him, you should tell him. Just to add a little bit more context for you to understand. You have a sentence like this. If you don't mind the punctuations, because I'm not going to bother with that right now. So if you are unhappy with him, you should tell him. Because the
It is
sentence
like a
we chose is like
suggestion.
too small for, it is very out of the context for you to understand. So I will look at you should come tomorrow, but then before that we should look at this sentence. If you are unhappy with him, you should tell him. What does it mean?
It is like we are suggesting someone.
Suggestion, right? So the other word that you're going to use for should is suggestion, right? So advice or suggestion. You should come tomorrow is more like either an advice or a suggestion. So should can be used mostly to show advice. When you're advising somebody, you're going to use should. And you can use also the same word, which is should, to show suggestion. Okay. So in either case, when you're giving an advice or when you're giving a suggestion, what are you doing? You're basically telling somebody, what is the correct thing to do or what is the best thing to do, right? That is called offering advice. When you say, you should do this, or advice basically means telling somebody, what is the best thing to do or what is the correct thing to do, right? So should is used to express that particular modality, which is giving advice or expressing or giving suggestion to people. Okay. The basic function of should, the core meaning of should would be to express advice or suggestion. So show to help people give an advice or give suggestions. Understood? So you should come tomorrow then can either classify as an advice or it could more, classify more along the lines of a suggestion. You should come tomorrow. It is a suggestion. Okay. And you must come tomorrow. What would that be?
Order.
Command.
Command.
Or obligation. Now, this is a classic example of obligation. You're obligated to come tomorrow. Necessary obligation, right? So if I want to classify it a little more, then it would be obligation that is necessary. Okay. I told you obligation is not always necessary. You have a choice to, not do or not do. It's just that it would be appreciated if you do that. But obligation that is necessary is expressed using must. So when I say you must come tomorrow, I'm telling you, you have to come, right? So it's more like an order or it's more like a rule or a regulation that I'm imposing on you. Okay, necessary obligation or obligation that is necessary, that is must. Okay. You must come tomorrow, but must can be used in other ways. Let me give you another example. You must be tired. You must be tired. If you have a sentence like this, you must be tired.
Certainty.
Does this express obligation? That is
No,
necessary.
No, it's not obligation.
We can't. It makes no sense. Nobody can tell us that you must be tired. So, what does it express? You must be tired.
Seems like
Prediction. Okay, someone says prediction.
Certainty.
Certainty.
A strong prediction.
Strong prediction. Okay, keep going. Let's.
Possibility.
Sorry.
Strong possibility. Strong
Possibility. You must be tired. Yes. So, what is that? Possibility. Right? Possibility. You must be tired can mean that you are, there's a possibility that you're tired. Okay. So not certainty, not prediction, anything, but this basically means that you're expressing a possibility. So again, coming back to the point that we were discussing, that all these modal verbs, they might have overlapping functions. First thing is they have more than one function, they can express more than one modality, and all of them can have overlapping expressions of modality also, which means it's not necessary that could is the only one which will express possibility. There are other modal verbs like may, might, and must, and can also, which can express possibility. Yeah. So the point you need to remember is, while this multiplicity of modality is possible with each of them also have a core modality expression that they are required to perform in the language, or rather they perform in the language, right? So that is what you need to understand. What I discussed with you today in the class is about the core meanings, core functions, core modalities expressed by each of them. Okay, have you understood this? If you understood this now, then rest of the things are just a matter of time, right? You can understand what other meanings they can express, use, with the help of the sentences like the ones that we discussed in the class. You can have a set of them and look at, what exactly is could doing here. Is it possibility or ability? It's showing something else, right? That you can figure out from the context. But you should know what's the core meaning for each of this. Have you understood this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can is ability, could is general possibility, may is strong possibility, might is weak possibility, shall, the function is to express what? Shall, permission, right? Permission. Should is advice and suggestion, must is obligation by necessity. Okay, anything that will and would. So will can show you what? Promise, threat, intention or warning, right? And would shows you hypothetical, imaginary or unreal situations. And in addition to that, could, would and may can also be used to express politeness in a formal context, right? This much, if you understand, rest of the things you can build based on the context of the sentence. Any
Ma'am,
question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, shall is for permission seeking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Should is for advice. Must is
Correct.
for obligation
Must.
that is necessary.
Necessary. Correct.
So we have done advice, obligation, but what about compulsory? If we have to show something is compulsory, then how we will say that?
If
Which model
something is
verb we will use?
compulsory, use must. You include it with an obligation that is necessary, right? So if something is compulsory, then you're basically saying this is necessary, right? So
Okay,
must
so
come, right? So
obligation
you
that is
must
necessary
fill
is
something.
equal. So
Huh.
obligation that is
Okay.
necessary with that is
Compulsory is
equivalent
not
to.
it's not a modality. Instead, you say when modality, when you talk about modality, then it has to be necessity. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So compulsory is it has similar shades of meaning, but it's not exactly necessity or obligation. But I understand your question. So in the case of trying to say something is mandatory or something is compulsory, you use must.
Okay, when we use have, ma'am, for the same
Have.
purpose, you
Have.
have to come tomorrow.
Have to is also a similar kind of, but they're not exactly. It's called a semi-modal. So there are other particles in the language which can be used like a modal verb, right? But that is not for us now. I don't think that's a part of your syllabus for English one. But you're right. Have to or need to, all of them also qualify as similar or as equivalent to must. And that's why these expressions are called semi-modals.
Okay, ma'am.
Hmm.
Thank you, ma'am.
That is a category of, so for example, is going to, it is going to rain, right? So is going to is basically, it will rain. Okay. So,
Okay.
huh.
Ma'am, what is the difference between obligation and order?
Obligation and order.
Yes.
Order is a consequence of the obligation, right? The order comes in because there is an obligation by necessity. Otherwise, there won't be an order. Order is basically a byproduct of that obligation. That's all. Okay.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
all are giving me words which can come under the umbrella of obligation and advice and all that. So you're all right about it. But the thing is, when you put something under a classification, it needs to have a head word to classify. So obligation is under it is the umbrella under which you can include order or command or compulsory or mandatory instruction. So all of those would come under the obligation by necessity classification. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So it is already 11:07. If you can spend some more time, I can go ahead and show you the exercise. If not, it's actually very, a short exercise. I think those of you can have some time and can stay back maybe for another 5 minutes. I think I'll appreciate so that the
You
exercise
can
is very
share,
simple.
ma'am. Yeah.
Sorry,
You can share, ma'am. We will
you
listen.
can stay. Okay.
Yes, please,
You
ma'am.
can stay. Good enough. Let me just share that screen with you. The exercise is quite simple, right? Although the discussion was a little bit complicated, the exercise is not as difficult. It is why am I not able to locate it? Okay. Yeah. English one.
Ma'am, one more request, ma'am. Like previous recordings, like it was asking for access request and all. So could you please grant access also?
It was requesting you access.
Yes, ma'am. Means I could not. It is asking some permission need to be given.
I think you probably are clicking on the video recordings. Probably that's why it's asking. it's asking for the permission, right? So if you visit the playlist, then I don't think you will have this problem.
Okay, ma'am. YouTube playlist you want me
You
to?
can access the session from the YouTube playlist, then it shouldn't be a problem for you.
Okay,
If you click on that video, no, then yeah, it will direct you to the uh, owner, and then that they have to. And usually, I don't think they give permissions for video recordings. So if you have problem in accessing it, then just let me know. I will communicate it to the team. But I think you should use the YouTube playlist link. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So, see, guys, this is a short exercise in model work. I think we can finish it off in 5 minutes. The first one is a conversation. You can read it for a minute or so, read the conversation entirely. And here you have the, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, won't, would be repeating. So, it's put cross 2, which means that you can use want twice in the conversation here, in the blanks here. So what I would like you to do is just quickly go through the conversation once, read it entirely for a minute, and then we can start answering. So you're going to be using all of these expressions you see here. So the question you were asking, have to, need to, we have examples of semi-models here in this one. Okay, are going to, was going to, right? These are all examples of semi-model verbs. This is just a practice exercise. I don't think for your exam you will have semi-model verbs, but it's good to know. Okay. Just read through the conversation and we can start looking at the answers. Right.
Yes, ma'am, we can
Will
start.
it start? Okay. Right. One second. Yeah. So the first one, it's 9:30 a.m. and Dave, a helpful friend, has just arrived at Sarah's flat. Sarah. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming. Dave. Okay. Thanks for coming so quickly. Dave, no problem. Sarah, what would you fill it up with?
Would you like
Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? And how is would used here? Is it used as a thing to show hypothetical situation or anything?
Offer.
This is offer and it's mostly a polite expression here, right? Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? So it doesn't have it, it's not used in its core meaning, but in its other secondary meaning, right? Which is to express politeness. Okay, now Dave. Oh, no thanks. I've already had some. Sarah, I dash phone you last night when it started.
I
But
was
then
going to.
sorry,
I were
was-
going to.
I was going to.
I was going to. Yes, I was going to phone you last night when it started, but then I realized it was after 11 o'clock and you dash probably be in bed already.
You would.
You would, right? Again, here it is going to be this good, apostrophe D, right? So we know that model verbs can also be expressed using contracted forms, right? So would and could both can be expressed using apostrophe D, right? So this is that one. So I would, you would. So you apostrophe D, probably be in bed already. Correct. Dave, right. But what's the problem, Sarah? It's a toilet. The water dash stop running.
Won't.
Hmm.
Wouldn't.
Won't. The water
Won't.
won't stop running. Won't, which means will not or would not. It won't, not would not, will not. The water will not, which is won't. The water won't stop running. And I'm afraid we dash end up with a
Will.
huge water bill.
Will.
Will?
Apostrophe.
Will,
Contracted form.
apostrophe LL. So that is will, right? B apostrophe LL. This one. This is what? This is will. So we'll end up with a huge water bill. See, so guys, one more thing as we discuss this, you should know why this apostrophe and this basically the contracted forms are used, right? Where do we use contracted forms mostly when you use a language? Spoken form or written form?
Spoken.
Spoken form.
Spoken form, right? Model verb, they're used very much in both the spoken language as well as the written language. So when spoken, used in the spoken form of the language, actually most of them get contracted, right? Like instead of saying cannot, people would say can't, right? Would not, they will say wouldn't, right? Should not will become shouldn't, right? Except for may and might, you may not have they usually not, might you has, but it is not very widely used. May certainly doesn't have a contracted negative form. You don't say mayn't, right? Mightn't, some people use, but then that's like extremely formal. People will not use it as such in these days. Everything else has a negative form and a contracted form also. Mustn't, right? So in spoken form, you usually use the contracted form. That's the idea. Or spoken form, or you can also call it continuous speech or spontaneous speech, right? Okay, so we'll end up with a huge water bill. Dave, well, let's take a look.
Shall.
Shall we? Shall we? Okay. Shall we? So shall we? Shall is also used in question tags like this. Okay. With the same thing. Shall we? He's basically asking for a permission, right? Shall we? Shall we do that? Okay. Because it's not his home, right? Or he doesn't stay there anymore. So shall we? Again, permission. So, oh, I hope it dash be a big problem.
Wouldn't be a problem.
Wouldn't be a problem.
Wouldn't be a big problem. I hope it wouldn't be. Is it wouldn't or won't?
Would.
Wouldn't.
It's not wouldn't. It has to be won't. Okay.
He's wishing it, so it wouldn't be.
Won't.
I hope it won't be a big problem.
It won't.
Hmm.
Okay, ma'am.
I hope it won't be a big problem. Okay. No. Oh, I hope it. No, sorry. It has to be wouldn't. I hope it wouldn't be a big problem because, she's seeking help, right? So she's being polite about it. I hope it wouldn't be a big problem. So would here is not used again, like your hypothetical, imaginary or that particular modality. This is more used as a polite function. So I hope it wouldn't be a big problem. Okay, not won't be a big problem, wouldn't, because we need to add the politeness factor to it. It wouldn't be a big problem.
Okay, ma'am.
I dash worry if I were you.
I won't.
I would.
I would.
Here it has to be what?
Which one? Which blank? 8th blank.
8
Wouldn't.
flat.
Wouldn't.
First, I dash show you how to.
It will then maybe won't.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just
Like we
taking
will
a-
use the would.
I wouldn't worry if so I think the wouldn't has to then come here because it is, I wouldn't worry if I were you. That sounds more correct to me. Oh, I wouldn't worry if I were you. Yes. So 7th one would be, I
Won't.
hope it won't be a big problem. And 8th one, because he says if I were you, right? So this is what? This is an imaginary situation or hypothetical as you want, unreal, mostly an unreal situation. So there you need to use the model
not.
verb would, right?
Would.
So, I wouldn't worry. So oh, I hope it won't be a big problem. This is Sarah. And then Dave says, oh, I wouldn't worry if I were you. Okay. So, eighth one would be wouldn't. And then the last one, these old toilets sometimes just need a little help. But first, I dash show you how to shut off the water.
I would.
I would, right? I would show you how to shut off the water supply in case. Now, here would is used as
Politeness.
politeness factor, right? So the meaning is mostly along the politeness factor indicator, right? So that is the use of would in that one. Okay. All right.
Apostrophe double L is like will, and apostrophe T is
Apostrophe T is not. Apostrophe T indicates not.
He's saying D.
T, ma'am.
dog.
D would be either could or would.
Okay.
Yeah. So I could can also be written as I apostrophe D. I would can also be written as I apostrophe D. Okay. Now few of these, I don't know how many we have. Okay, only 12. I think you can quickly look at it also. My grandmother is. Those of you who want to leave the session, you can leave. Okay. If you have other commitments, the ones who can stay back, please stay back and use this. You can come back and look at the recording later if you want.
Ma'am, in the
Yeah,
previous
Aman, trying to
last
speak.
sentence, ma'am, in
Sorry?
the previous last sentence, we can write should, no? If should was the option.
I should show you. No, why would you use should?
It sounds appropriate.
No, in the ninth sentence, right? No, you don't have to use should there.
Okay.
Should is usually used for what?
Advice, suggestion.
Advice or suggestion, right? So the context doesn't give you any space to give an advice or a suggestion. I should show you how to shut off the water. No, not required in that context. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first sentence here, see, both the function and the possibility of words that can, as in the model verbs are shown in the brackets. All you need to do is pick up the appropriate auxiliary, model auxiliary. So my grandmother is 85, but she dash still read and write without glasses.
She can.
Can.
She can, right? She can still read and write without glasses because expression of ability, right? Second one, dash, I come with you. Can will
Would
Can I come with you?
Can I come with you, right? You of course can't say will I come with you and would I come with you. So, can I come with you? Third one, dash you help me with the housework, please? Polite request.
Could you help me?
Could you help me with the housework, please? Yes, correct. Fourth one, there was a time when I dash stay up very late. Ability.
When I could stay up very late.
There was a time when I could stay up very late. Okay, could, expression of ability. We know that it can express ability as well, right? Fifth one, you dash not lose any more weight. You are already slim. Necessity.
You may not.
You should not.
Necessity.
May, ma'am.
You need not.
Need not. Necessity, right? So need not.
Okay.
You need not lose any more weight. You're already slim. Necessity. Should will make it a suggestion. May will make it a, nothing. You may not lose is basically like a very feeble expression of. You need not lose any more weight. That is what will express necessity. Okay. Sixth one, we dash make the first move. Prohibition.
Must
We
not.
will not.
We will make the first move. No. We will not make the first move. We cannot make the first move. We must not make the first. Prohibition.
We cannot make.
Prohibition is what? Prohibition comes under what?
Must.
So it's when you say prohibitions, you're basically saying that there's an order, right? So it comes under the obligation part, obligation by necessity. So must not. We must not make the first move. Okay. It is snowing outside. Seventh one. It is snowing outside, so I dash stay at home. Intention.
I may stay at
Intention. What expresses intention?
I will stay at home.
I will stay at home. Right. Will. It is snowing outside, so I will stay at home. Right. Eighth one. I dash get you a shawl from Kashmir. Promise.
I will.
I
I
will.
can get. I will.
No. Promise.
Yeah, I will.
I will. I will get you a shawl from Kashmir. Expression of promise. Dash you mind if I borrowed your car? Permission. Will, would, should.
Would you mind?
Would you mind?
Would you mind if I borrowed your car? Okay. Permission. Then the next one. Dash you take care of my dog for a day?
Would you?
Would you take care?
Would you take care? So there is a difference between the use of would and will in this sentence. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about it? Not talk a little bit. Can you tell me what would be the difference?
Would politeness, ma'am.
Both would be considered, say semi-formal, if not completely formal. You are right. Would you mind is more like a polite expression. So, would you take care of my dog for a day? Because it says polite request already, so you have to use would, right? Would you take care of my dog for a day? But what about the previous sentence, ninth one? Dash you mind if I borrowed your car?
It will.
You can use both will and would here, but since here, in the brackets it says permission, and seeking permission is most of the times always polite, right? So you can use either will or would here. If you say, will you mind if I borrowed your car? It is permission again, right? But it is more like a, not informal, but, less formal way of seeking permission. Will you mind if I borrowed your car? Okay, less formal. The same thing if I say, would you mind if I borrowed your car? Then this is a method of seeking permission, but a polite way of seeking permission. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So same goes for the 10th one also. You can say, will you take care of my dog? Again, this would be a request, but not a polite request, right? Not an entirely a polite request. But when I say, would you take care of my dog for a day? Then it is polite request. So in the brackets, if polite word is mentioned, then you will choose would and not will. Okay, understood. Now, 11th, I dash swim when I was 6. This example we already discussed, right? What's the answer?
I could.
I could swim. So expression of ability, I could swim when I was 6. 12th one, she dash sell her home because she needs money.
Might.
Weak possibility.
She might.
Might. She might sell her home because she needs money. It's a very weak possibility. So you use the word might among may, might, and could. Okay. Okay. So this was, just an attempt to look at the modal verbs from our end. So of course, these examples are not sufficient enough for you to have, an entire good understanding about it. So you need to keep practicing for that levels of proficiency. But this is good enough for you to understand what are the differences between the modal verbs that we use and how do we use it in different contexts. Okay, I hope that much you would have understood from the session.
Ma'am, what out to use in?
Sorry?
What out to use in? OUGSTTU.
No, don't worry about it right now. I don't think you have it for this session. Out is again a semi-modal verb. Out to, supposed to. It's not out to actually, it's basically ought to. So ought to, supposed to, need to, have to, able to. All of those are semi-modal expressions. You don't have to worry about them now. Ought to is again, obligation. Ought to, supposed to, all of them express obligations. They all fall under the obligation category, but you don't have to worry about it. Okay?
Ma'am, in exam also they will give that ability, permission, polite request.
Yes,
These
yes,
all things.
yeah. They always and most of the times carry the context. Model verb questions usually don't come without context. It will be indicated.
Okay. Means they will mention, right?
Yes, they will mention.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, can
Yeah.
you send this PDF, ma'am, just for reference?
This is already uploaded in the, um, I think under supplementary tab in your
Okay,
dashboard.
ma'am. I'll check.
You can access it from there. Okay, all right, and thank you for staying back. I will close the session now because I have another session at 11:30. In case you have any questions, you can always write to us. Okay, later.
Ma'am, can you give any hints or tips for tomorrow's exam?
Sorry?
Ma'am, can you give any hints or tips for tomorrow's exam?
Sorry, I am not the person to do that. You please look at all the lectures and at least go through the lecture slides. If not, the lecture at this point is too much for you. You need to. You don't have to think outside of anything. Just stay concentrated on the lectures. We usually don't ask anything that is not a part of the syllabus. Okay. And if you have more
And
doubts, you
ma'am,
can.
I had a doubt. I am facing some problems in maths, but there is no session today, and tomorrow is the
You
exam.
can write to them. Try writing to the forum. I think forum or the. the discussion forum. So
Ma'am, I
they
wrote
can.
there, but no reply came, so I was asking.
I'm sorry, Aishman. It's a different team, so I don't have a. I may not even know who they are. So wait for them, or you can maybe give a call to the support team and raise the issue. Okay. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
ma'am.
We will see again next week. Right. See you all again, and all the best for your exams. In case you have any doubts, meanwhile, by tonight you can ask somebody. Will try and respond if it is not too late in the day.